Good day everyone, this is Irish and now I am tasked to discuss you all about neoliberalism, the city who had two navels, explores colonial and neoliberal architecture. But before anything else, let's first discuss what is neoliberalism. Neoliberalism is defined as the 20th century resurgence of 19th century ideas associated with economic liberalism and free market capitalism. It is generally associated with policies of economic liberalization, including privatization, deregulation, globalization, free trade, austerity, and reduction in government spending in order to increase the role of the private sector in the economy and society. However, the defining features of neoliberalism in both thought and practice that have been the subject of substantial scholarly debate. In policymaking, neoliberalism was part of a paradigm shift away from the prevailing Keynesian economic consensus that existed prior to the persistent stagflation of the 1970s. So this year, the Philippines, for the second time in the history, has a national pavilion at the Architectural of Belize. This endeavor is largely due to the Senator Lauren Legarda, with support from Virgilio Almario, chairman of the National Commission for Culture and Arts. The theme for this year's 60th Venice International Architecture exhibit is Free Space, co-curated by Yvonne Farrell and Shelley McNamara. It explores new ways of thinking and seeing the world, of inventing solutions where architecture provides for the well-being and dignity of each citizen on our fragile planet. Now, according to the curators, free space can be a space for opportunity, a democratic space unprogrammed and free for uses not yet conceived. There is an exchange between people and buildings that happens even if not intended or designed, so buildings themselves find ways of sharing and engaging with people over time, long after the architecture has left the scene. Architecture has an active as well as passive life. This year's theme, Free Space, encompasses freedom to imagine the free space of the memory, binding past, present, and future together. So building on inherited cultural layers, weaving the archaic with the contemporary. The curator of our National Pavilion, Edson Cabalfin, draws on Nick Joaquin's 1961 novel, The Woman Who Had Two Navels, as his theme for the Philippine entry. Just as the protagonist in Nick Joaquin's story finds herself caught between traditional values of the past and the present. So the city had two navels focuses on the architecture of our colonial past and the present. The creator of our National Pavilion, Edson Cabalfin, draws on Necoquin's 1961 novel entitled The Woman Who Had Two Navels as the theme for the Philippine entry. Just as the protagonist in Necoquin's story finds herself caught between traditional values of the past and the present. So the city who had two navels focuses on the architecture of our colonial past and neoliberal urbanism. So the latter term refers to about the dominance of these two trends and how they hinder the ability of architects to form a future style. So the physical installation of the pavilion itself is dynamic and inviting. So the large square room with a high ceiling is divided by two oval convex freestanding panels almost the entire length of the room. So these two panels, representing the projects of the groups chosen to work on new ideas, create a central area showing Yeson Banal's video of prominent landmarks within the greater Metro Manila area and beyond, the Metro Cemetery, Chinatown, Mountain Pinatubo, Subic U.S. Naval Base, Bonifacio Global City, Rockwell, Eco Center, Manila Hotel, and among the others. So the viewer immediately drawn to the film that it is made aware of the effect of colonial architecture plays in shaping neoliberalism structures and development. So personally, I do not see these styles as conflicting, but rather as building upon each other in creating our cities. So granted that Western architecture was not intrinsic to the ancestral Philippine way of living, but with colonialism, we embrace it and move on. For an architecture to be successful, it must accomplish this in aesthetically uplifting manner. In historic times, cities were built to show the beauty, the power, and the wealth of a people. Structures were testaments to this and were made to stand the test of time. Today, showing wealth and power tend to be more important than beauty. So mall as social spaces, the expansion of residential subdivision, encroaching in peripheral farmlands, the homogeneity of commercial areas, having the same fast food chain restaurants, fast fashion shops, convenience stores, and etc., as well as traffic congestions, are among the visual topics addressed by the Banals video, entitled Formation, Concrete Supernatural, Pixel and Bound. One sees that neoliberalism architecture has often been reduced to a formula without creativity. Now, moving forward, another theme of the Philippine Pavilion focused on studying how colonialism and neoliberalism could best work toward shaping our future. So, a consortium of a NGO of architects and planners, TAO, Pilipinas in Quezon City, and four universities, the UP Diliman, UP Mindanao, University of San Carlos in Solog, Cebu, and De La Salle College of St. Benaldi was established. So each group chose a site to study and develop in whichever manner they saw fit. The University of San Carlos in Sulug chose to focus in Colon Street, the oldest in the Philippines. So their project titled Current of Unity. So envisioned Colon Street as major thoroughfare linking coexisting with a new development of high-rise structures encompassing current buildings. So doing so in reinvents the area into a hub of social activity. So another one, we have here the UP Mindanao. So UP Mindanao chose the existing informal settlements of the ocean's edge of the population in Davao City. So to counter the extreme modern trends, they foresee Davao City developing the group uses indigenous motifs in local architecture to recreate the floating village into what they call Badjao Eco-Village Empowerment through indigenous architecture. We have here the De La Salle College of San Benaldi chose the Pasig River. So Manila focusing on Binondo and Intramuros. Foreseeing the Philippines in 2050, it explores these areas under the three colonial powers, were subjugated to as well as being a hyper-virtual reality city. Moving forward, we have also here the UP Diliman. So UP Diliman is a colonial institution, chose its own campus as its project. So high grades, a contraction of hyperrealistic projections and conceptual grids, explores the possibilities of colonialism and neoliberalism of being highly built and minimally built, highly vegetated and minimally vegetated, within the framework of interacting conceptual grids. Now, the TEL Filipinas is a non-profit organization created by two women architects and has helped those with the financial means to design low-cost structures that are functional and aesthetically pleasing. Although our exhibition offers various ways of dealing with the needs of the Filipino people and shows the talent of our young architects, sadly it did not take home any of the coveted prizes. But this year, there were two awards of special mention. One went to Rahul Mehrotra, born in Mumbai, India, and a professor of a Harvard University for his unsuming approach in his project, dealing with intimate and socially hierarchical space, and the other to Andra Matin from Bandung, Indonesia, for his sensitive installation, integrating traditional form and material into modernism. So I think that's it for my discussion, which is all about the neoliberalism, the city who had two navels, explores colonial and neoliberal architecture. I do really hope that you will learn something from me, and I do really appreciate your effort just to view this video, and thank you so much for listening. God bless us all.